Hello, this is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barnes. Today we're going to be talking about a post that Trump made about Ron DeSantis, and he did not like his response yesterday. We talked about that, so we'll talk about that some more. Also, Dr. Phil, there's some clips going around of a segment he had of a father who was confronted with his son who is trans now, and it's a heartbreaking clip, and I don't know. I don't know what's up with Dr. Phil other than this is a hot topic and it's getting him clicks, and I guess we're talking about it, but there's like real people's lives here, and the way the father just grieves is just gonna be heartbreaking. So I want to talk about that. Also, people are really annoyed about The Little Mermaid and have been upset about the Disney adaptation. You guys know I haven't seen a Disney thing in a while, because I think the company is deeply evil. But Halle Berry, Halle Berry. I don't think it's Haley. I think it's Holly, but it's not like Haley. Holly. It's not. The actress has been around for a long time. They're not the same. She's Bailey, not Barry. She made a comment in an interview about how their adaptation is going to be exploring different themes that the original one didn't explore. Yet how she described it, at least in her interview, it sounded exactly like what happened in the other film. And it just goes to show you that people are so desperate to tack on like a feminist approach to everything that they kind of have just a lack of respect for what came before them, because everyone wants to pretend like they're the revolutionary new thing. It probably will be woke. I don't know. We'll see. But it doesn't look good to me. I was going to watch it anyway, but it really doesn't look good to me. So we'll go into that. I've had some viral posts about the Disney's Little Mermaid, but it does not, it doesn't look good to me at all. At all. We can wait till we get to the segment before I really go into it. But before we jump into the stories of the day, please go to Black Tea News. We don't have to go right now, but just at some point in time, go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. Check out different merch that we have at the store. I had just made a post on YouTube about one of my books, The Color of God's Eyes, and The Song of the Devil's Lips. I have a bunch of books that I've written. If you want to check any of that stuff out, you can go to blacktnews.com. And if you go to the merchandise button, at the banner at the top will take you to my book website. But you can just search my name, Christina Elbar, on Amazon, and all my stuff will pop up. So yeah, I have a lot of books. And March is reading month. So make sure that you're getting something for you. Make sure you're getting something for your kids, like Super Kid 2. Got a lot of cool stuff. And in the comments on my post, someone said that they just got my books and I'm a really good writer. That made me really happy. That they like my stuff. But if you liked it, go review it, please. If you liked it, go review it, please. Also have my book, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, that I have available for pre-order on Kindle and Nook, and it'll be available for paperback soon. So make sure that you guys are signing up for updates at the website so you can make sure that you know when that is coming out. By the way, if you're unaware, I mostly do my own cover art, but my youngest sister actually did this beautiful illustration here with the hand of God reaching out to the baby. And I think she did such a fantastic job. She does she does fabulous oil paintings and watercolor, and she can also, she does so many like side things with art. Like she paints on shoes. Like you can get your like a pair of Converse or something, buy a pair of shoes, send it to her, and she can put like what you want on it. It's really cool. And she does text portraits. So it's Tina's text portraits. If you look her up, but she's really talented. So I have her doing other art for me, illustrations and stuff for my books. Side note announcement regarding to that, I will be at Motor City Comic Con um in May. I don't remember the exact date if you look it up, but it's in Michigan. So if you're in the area, I will have my books there. I'll be selling my books, so you can go ahead and come see me at the booth and pick up a book or two or three, because we usually have deals. So pick up a couple, and she's usually right next to me, so you can pick up some art, look at her stuff too. I was talking to my friend last night. I did an interview with Duncan on TikTok. He's known as Boldly Growing Forward, and I don't think we had this commentary after we got off air, and we were talking about Dragon Con. And I've never been. Duncan has been several times. I'm like, I always want to get in, but it's always like too late. I think they just want to keep. They give, usually people give priority to people who've been there a long time. So it's, if it's a really popular show, it's hard to squeeze in after people have been going there consistently for such a long time. But yeah, I would like to get in Dragon Con, sure, in a bunch of different places. But right now, the only like convention thing on the books is actually Motor City Comic Con. So if you're in the area, come and see me. Also, if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Cost of stream, run my website, all that stuff. So if you would like to support, you can do so at the website. You can give a gift of $10, $20 more, whatever you can do. God bless you. I very much appreciate it. On YouTube, I am monetized now. So if you want to send any just putting out there stickers and all that stuff, that is available. So but just thank you guys for subbing. It wasn't too long ago, and I'm doing kind of a long intro, but um on TikTok at first, that's where I was, getting my main traction. And then on my main account, they really chop blocked me. And on my second account, I had did a video about Dylan Mulvaney, and they take down stuff so radically fast about Dylan Mulvaney, who, by the way, Kamala Harris wrote a letter congratulating Dylan on 365 days of being a girl, which is not something that any other woman, I suppose, that any woman has gotten any acknowledgement, especially from a vice president before. So that's unusual, So just want to let you know where our administration is at. But anyway, I did a video, and it immediately got taken down. And I wasn't surprised. I appealed it, and it got back up, and then they took it down again, and they said I couldn't appeal it. And I was annoyed. So, and I'm like, well, let me try to put it on YouTube. And it did really well on YouTube. We got maybe like over 2 million views on YouTube. So and then people started to come to my channel and subscribe from there. And I was really struggling, honestly, to get like 1,000 people on my YouTube, because you can't be monetized unless you have a certain amount of followers and you have a certain amount of watch hours. And YouTube wasn't really allowing me to get much traction. And then after the shorts started, going to different people's feeds, and a lot of people discovered me. So I don't know, was this like October ish or November? It was some point. I don't even know if it was winter, or maybe it was winter at some point last year. I wasn't even maybe at 1,000 yet, and now I'm at 40,000. So that's no small feat to me. So I thank you guys for hopping on the train, for watching, for supporting. It does mean a lot. So anyway, let's get on to the news. I don't have a meme today. I'm sorry, guys. I want to. I think I want to start with this Dr. Phil thing. Gosh, this is really sad. So this clip is going around of a Dr. Phil show, and there's a father who is um alarmed and emotionally very grieved after his son comes out and has transitioned, and starts going through memories, I guess, of how he thinks he maybe could have kind of contributed to it. So um let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Fine. To meet you. We'll sit right here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Tell me what you're thinking and feeling right now, Gary.
I'm hurt bad. Really bad.
What do you have to say?
Why?
I just want you to know that you didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong.
He feels like he let you down. He's gone back to the point of, he says, one time for Halloween.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
He dressed up like a girl. I thought it was funny at first. No, I certainly don't. I thought it was Halloween, so I just went along with it. Actually pinched him on his behind and said he made a good-looking girl, but I was only joking. He's not a good-looking girl. He's a very beautiful man.
Right.
So a lot of commentary regarding his reaction. He was trembling, so upset to see that site, and people, there's people who Matt Walsh, I was on his page and he had retweeted it. He didn't post it, but um he said he was talking about the narcissism of people who just, I don't know, expect you all to just be excited and clap, and I don't know, have the sort of fanfare that someone like, I guess, Dylan Mulvaney or some or other people have. But um when you go through this radical change, but this dad reaction, it reminds me of an article that I read, and I think it was um it might have been the Washington Post, but I'm not positive. But it was an op-ed about, and a mother wrote it about her child, who, it was her daughter, who decided to start identifying as a man, and how difficult it was, and how their relationship started to deteriorate because her daughter, well, I mean, she didn't accept the transgender identity, and her daughter wanted to go no contact, because her mom wouldn't accept it. And so from the mother's perspective, and trans activists and allies were just like ripping her apart and saying, oh, her love wasn't is she doesn't really love her daughter, or love her son, because she won't accept him as a son. And they were saying her love was, the mother's love was conditional, because she doesn't still love them anymore 'cause she won't accept them. I'm like, if you could read this article and not see that this mother deeply loves her child and is grieving over her child because she loves, I don't know what to make of people who couldn't read through the lines and just see the pain through the page. Like, that's why the separation is so painful, because she loves her child. Like, love is not, relationships aren't you getting everything that you want out of it. Like, there's going to be people who can't meet you all the way on something, and you have to learn to kind of respect people's differences. And I know, like, this is like the transgender issue, that's like an extreme sort of ask with folks, but I'll do something a bit more mundane. I live with my older sister, and she's very huggy, she's very affectionate. I'm very leave me alone. I want to work on my computer. If I'm alone working on my computer all day, that's a good day, you know? And she, you know, eventually it just, she came to respect my space. And there are times like after dinner or something, I'll sit down and I'll watch a movie, not because I really want to watch the movie or something, but I know that she wants to spend that time together. So at least to me, the fact that um you can respect people where they're at, that means like a a lot to me. And I think that strengthens or deepens the relationship. But people who expect you to just fall over um and go with what they want, and that they'll just leave if you don't. I think that's what's toxic. So a person who is trans, it's got to be terrible to feel that sort of dysphoria and wanting to establish this identity. But you got to think about it from the perspective of a parent, and the mother in the piece really laid it out, and she was talking about how she's talking to her daughter, and the voice isn't the same, and this isn't the voice that she's heard all these years. She said it's like hearing the voice of a stranger. And she talked about how her daughter wanted a different name. She's like, this isn't the name that I called my child when she, I soothed her, her illnesses, and cheered for her at different events and so on. And I was it just listening or reading that perspective, and how many memories we have with each other associated with people's voices and their names. And I my nephew called me Cece, and my nieces call me Cece, and now some of my siblings call me Cece. There's an attachment there. With my dad's my brother's named after my dad, and the first time my nephew called him Uncle Gino, I was weird, because we're just like, that's what my cousins called my dad. And now he's an Uncle Chino. Um, there's just so much attachment to names, and memories to names. And to think of you're asking a parent to just scrap all that for a persona that they don't believe in, one that they don't think even makes sense for their child. That's a hard ask. That's a hard ask. And people there's a lot of debate about Jeffrey Marsh on TikTok. If you don't know who he is, you can Google him. There's some weird stuff that he puts out there, but one of the stuff that he talks about often is going no contact. And people are concerned because he has a Patreon and he makes content, and some of it is definitely geared toward kids. And people say, well, it's the adults and the kids. I'm like, okay, but the kids are included, right? And he has a video saying, your parents screwed up, that's why I made a Patreon. And so that doesn't say adults only in that video. And people are like, oh, but that's geared toward adults. I'm like, do kids not have parents? So to make it a blanket statement like that isn't really good. But he'll say, if your family doesn't want you, I'll want you, I'll be your family, I'll love you. And it's just really, really weird. And so there's some people, other creators who are LGBT, who want to stick up for him and say, well, going no contact is therapeutic. And I heard someone who's gay say this, and I'm like, it's not the same nowadays. I think with animosity or not being able to come to terms with your sexuality as it is with the gender identity stuff right now, especially with the aspect of the social contagion element. And when people say social contagion, like in Abigail Schreier's book, there's like particular criteria that it's referring to, not like you can wake up and catch it or something like that. But it's you just got to read the book. But one thing though about the phenomena that's sort of going on now is that you'll see usually it's more males would identify as trans, and it would um they'd identify it, with different tells throughout life, but they're finding out that a lot of young girls, especially in friends groups, are starting to identify as transgender, and they find a pattern that a lot of these people are left leaning and very accepting of these groups normally, but then their child, their young daughter who's spent a lot of time online or was in some kind of friends group where this is all accepted and all kind of pushed, all of a sudden they're like, I think I'm trans, and they're like, are you though? Because it just doesn't seem like they've experienced or seen anything that would lead them to this. Or there will be parents who are totally on board and they look deeper into it and they're like, I don't think this is the right path. But once you kind of are consistently going down like full speed ahead down the hill, a lot of people won't turn back, or at least without, or people may do it, but maybe not without some kind of serious damage done. So to read some of those stories from parents who are normally accepting of, the left side of the spectrum, um, even some of them lose their custody of their kids, is awful. So when people talk about going no contact, they're not saying going no contact. It's not the context of my parent kicked me out of the house because they couldn't stand I was X, Y, and Z. It's I'm going no contact because they just could not accept that I was a man when they raised me as their daughter their whole life. I don't think that's healthy. Like I said, someone used the term therapeutic. We're not protecting or helping that person. We're protecting their for lack of a better illness. I have no other word I guess to say. They're protecting the illness rather than trying to help someone cope through the world, because everyone else isn't going to just go with your desires and your whims. You can't just protect yourself from the whole world by making the whole world bow to what you want. So how are you going to learn to deal with that is the question. And I guess the question is we don't. You or at least that's what they're hoping. They're hoping that they can fade John Stone, who was on a Hershey bar. He said, tweeted that he wanted TERFs so vilified that they're afraid to voice their opinions. And Dylan Mulvaney's like, your tweets are going to be forever. And one day we're not going to tolerate, transphobia online. And so a bit of a threat there. They do expect everyone to submit. That's the goal. That's the goal. Whether they shame you into compliance, they scare you into compliance, like everyone's gonna off themselves if you don't go along with it. But obviously this was a very hard thing for a parent to see and to go through. And people are being kind of, there's a lot of people who are understandably understanding his reaction, and there's people who think he's having a terrible reaction. But he's like grieving losing his son, and someone said in the comments like, well, he just gained a daughter. I'm like, how did he gain a daughter? Does he expect his daughter to get married to a woman? Get married to a man and get impregnated and have grandkids? No, you're not. And not all daughters will go ahead and do that, but you can't just do that. You can't just do that. He still has a son. He's just in a dress. So Dr. Phil tried to talk to him a bit. Someone said Dr. Phil's a media whore. Are you any Frasier fans in the comments? There's such a funny episode of Frasier with Dr. Phil, and and BB is Frasier's like evil talent agent who will do anything to basically get ahead. And there's been episodes where Actually, this was the episode with Dr. Phil because he had dropped her or wanted to drop her or something. And then she was like, "Oh, well, I have Dr. Phil. I made him a star." And so Frasier knew Phil earlier in his career or whatever, and he's just like, Dr. Phil has gone, so large. So if BB could do that for me, that'd be great. So, but BB's always had a crush on Frasier, and so he actually goes to go see her at a hotel one night. And I think this is the same episode. I don't think I'm mixing it. And then she's like, "We can work together or something," and he's just like, "At what cost?" And she had come out the bathroom, so there's like steam coming out, and there's some kind of light, so it looks like demonic or whatever. And then Fraser ended up running out of the hotel room, like panicked, and then he looked, and then the hotel number I think was 666 or something. And just um it was a funny episode. So he ended up signing back with BB, but it turned out that BB had never signed Dr. Phil, that he owed her a favor or something, and or owed her a debt, and he just said that she was the agent to get Frasier back. So it was a really funny episode. um just made me think of all this since we're talking about Dr. Phil. But yeah, I think Dr. Phil's, I mean, he had Matt Walsh on, which they took that episode down with Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh was on with a few transgender activists, and then there were like two other people who were not transgender activists, but they were, less blunt than Matt. And then there was like a screen of people who, I think we're all like LGBT folks, and Matt was just, like, "What is a woman?" And that's, who had kind of launched that question everywhere. Like, and then the guest, even though Matt was outnumbered, they said that they felt harmed and set up by Dr. Phil, and they ended up taking the episode down. I'm like, what are you trying to accomplish, bro? Like, who's running the circus? Who's running the circus here? Why'd you have to take your episode down? It was really bonkers. And then they didn't air some other interesting things that Matt talked about, but I'm gonna move on and play this other clip of Dr. Phil talking to this dad, and trying to tell him that maybe he's just not educated enough.
Are you willing to educate yourself and say, is it possible there are some things I don't know which would make some of this where this person that I love, which is still sitting here, looks a little different in the moment, but this person that I love, the spirit that I love, the soul that I love, the laughters that we shared, the experiences that we shared, those moments, those memories that we've shared, still all here embodied. This person is just experiencing something that was not asked for. It's just a reality that is coming to pass. Given that that's a possibility, I might want to educate myself about it to see if, like, oh my God, maybe need to catch up a little on something. I mean, I'm just saying, is it just a possibility?
Yes.
So he's saying, do you need to educate yourself? I mean, I guess there's nothing wrong with being a bit more informed on things, but a, a lot of these folks want to indoctrinate you, though. They don't want you to be more educated on something. They want you to be indoctrinated into like an entirely different worldview here. So last night, if you missed it, I had on Duncan, and I already mentioned this, but Duncan was on last night. Duncan is boldly growing forward on TikTok, and Duncan is detransitioning. So he was identity when I first came across Duncan's content. Duncan was referring to himself as Becca. I mean, I just referred to Duncan as Becca because that's all that I knew him by. I did not use Duncan's pronouns. I forgot to ask that question. Like, How'd you deal with that? Because he never like caught an attitude about it, and other people obviously will get very defensive about not using their preferred pronouns. And could I would go back and forth with some people in the comments sometimes and be like, I'm not using your pronouns because you're asking me to like deny like objective reality. Like that's the point of it. You're trying to get me to go along with something that I don't believe in, don't agree with, etc. And it's a lie, and I think that's immoral. So I would do video replies, comments, stuff. So I'm sure that Becca at the time knew that I was not going along with the pronoun stuff, but never saw him, you know, make a big fuss at it. So I did want to ask that question, but I forgot about it at the time. But we were having a conversation about the shift and when he decided to start detransitioning. And so he's a pretty logical person, and there was different traumas that led him to transitioning. And as he continued to unpack his trauma, he realized that the transitioning was a way to cope with abuse that he had gone through. And his abuser was a woman, and then he made a persona that was a woman, which he just realized was a further suppression of this boy who was a victim that he trapped deep within inside of him. So he started continuing to unpack and heal with that. And but he would be asked by, he said anti-trans people questions like, what, you say you're a woman, why do you think that? Why do you feel, how do you feel like a woman? Can you explain that? And he would say, oh well, I like this, I like that, but just like stereotypical stuff. And people would say, well, that doesn't make you a woman. There's other people who don't like this, who do like this. There's men who like this, who are like this too, etc. And so he started to just realize that what he deemed as being a woman or felt like being a woman were just stereotypes that got him to that place, as opposed to actually knowing what it's like to be a woman or being a woman. So he said, if I, can't defend it, he said, I can't stand on all my fingers and toes, you know? So that began to get at him, I suppose. And I said, that's very interesting that you say that, because I've definitely had those conversations with the different trans women and said, what do you mean that you feel like a woman? And the answers are very stereotypical of their perceptions of women, or like women's clothing, how they do their hair and makeup, and just things that people have been fighting to kind of destroy, different stereotypes really about femininity and masculinity, and not even like gender roles so much. But and they didn't have good answers when you press. So if Dr. Phil wanted to press the doctor part of his whole affiliation, he could have just ask questions like, well, why do you feel like a woman? What does that mean? How would you even know that? Like, I are those like important questions that people should be able to answer? I think so. So he's had a couple shows on this topic, and he I mean, I would assume he leans quite left, gauging on like how he pushes back on certain stuff, but definitely agree with him being a media horror. And it's a hot topic, so it won't be the last time. But that poor dad, how he just quivered and shook. And I know people probably think that they're monsters because they can't just accept, like, to raise a child and to think about them having have living life a particular way, and thinking about how you're going to continue to build a future, etc., with your son who's, I don't know, carrying on your name, and hoping that they'll probably get a family, and marry a nice girl, and have their own kids. And I mean, he could you know identify as a lesbian, I guess, and still have of family the good old fashioned way, but it's weird. It is definitely not I guess we'll say heteronormative in a normal sort of sense, and it's just jarring. And and dysphoria is the real condition. I keep like people keep saying, well, we exist, we should get representation, etc. And I'm like, some things you gatekeep, because if there are people who are, if the show is about someone who was suffering from body dysmorphia, and they came out all super skinny and frail, the audience wouldn't be like, when the audience didn't really do that, they were just shocked, but like you wouldn't have all these Twitter heads saying, oh, he's a terrible dad because he can't accept, that they feel super fat, but they want to, but they're, even though they're really skinny, like, accept that they're destroying their body in that way. But that's how they identify. We wouldn't do that. So it's just this particular sect of, you know that we deal with people differently, and expect everyone to just affirm it and act like it's not just normal, but virtuous. So, um, Dr. Phil. Okay, let's move on. So, I unless the news has changed since I've been on here, I've been looking. I haven't seen any indictment. You can let me know in the comments. I'll Google it really quick. But of Trump. But it was still a rumor at the time. But I don't know. There's so many talking heads about it. Mm, yeah, it just seems like it's still alleged. It's still conversations about it. I'm not seeing that anything is actually happening, but it's been a rumor. And when it happens, it will shake the world. I'm sure. I'm sure, and it is worthy to shake the world. But people, I mentioned yesterday, people wanted Ron DeSantis to make some kind of comment. They want to know if he was gonna, like, I don't know, not extradite Trump or whatever. Which there aren't any orders to do that, but there is, like, the Constitution to contend with. He can't just be like, nah, I can't comply. But so yesterday, Ron DeSantis made a comment, and his thing was, the DA is corrupt. They're corrupt. They shouldn't, like, be going after people for political witch hunts, and the Soros DAs and stuff, are all those folks are corrupt. That's why we did X, Y, and Z in my state, and we're going to focus on important business, and I'm not going to focus on rumors. And I can't speak to porn star payoffs, etc. Which I told you guys yesterday when Ron DeSantis said that. Um, to me, that seemed like the most diggiest sort of thing that he's done at Trump. Now, that is what it revolves around. Which, by the way, I thought it was interesting. Jocelyn Benson, she's my Secretary of State in Michigan, and she put out a comment that was quite curious. And she said, today is a great day to remind everyone that seeking accountability for anyone who attempted to overturn the results of a legitimate and accurate presidential election is very much not a witch hunt, but instead a reflection of justice and the fact that no one is above the law. So, very curious to say such a thing. And it was, in fact, today, because we're all waiting for the Trump indictment, or to hear if that's legit or real or whatever. Um, it has nothing to do with the 2020 election. So does she know something that, I don't know, that we're all not privy to, that we instinctively just know, that um y'all going after Trump because y'all still don't like Trump, just period? Because her statement makes it sound like it is a political witch hunt if she thinks it has anything to do with the 2020 election, because it doesn't. And if it does secretly have something to do with that, so he won't, run, or to hinder him, to stop him from going back in office, or whatever the reasons that you think it's tied to, like, the election stuff, as opposed to like a shady payoff with Stormy Daniels. Is that, are you like revealing the plot and the motivation? I mean, she could just be a moron, and who isn't really looking at the issues, and she's talking election integrity because she's painting herself as a savior of democracy and whatever. So that's what she's still stuck on, election integrity. Certainly not making our Secretary of State offices run well. She's definitely not focused on that, I can tell you. So I just an interesting comment. But anyway, DeSantis, he made his statement, and people the mentioning the Stormy Daniels thing, I did think was a bit of a dig, and which he hasn't really said much about Trump, but it is like the reality of the situation. But he kept it mostly focused on, this is what I'm doing for Florida, and by the way, woke people suck and corruption sucks. So there's some, still the lines are being drawn with the people who are for DeSantis and people who are for Trump. And there are some very Trumpy people who really didn't like the comments that DeSantis was making and thought he should have fought harder for Trump, which they're coming after DeSantis like last week over it was a Trump pack. So I don't know whose hands were like all totally in it, but I didn't see an announcement of Trump for like this Trump pack going after DeSantis and trying to, I think, get him kicked out of office, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, Trump went ahead and he made a comment on Truth Social. So he said, Ron DeSanctimonious will probably find out about false accusations and fake stories sometime in the future as he gets older, wiser, and better known, when he's unfairly and illegally attacked by a woman, even classmates that are underage, or possibly a man. I'm sure he will want to fight these misfits just like I do. So with this post, he did one post and he like quickly deleted, and then he like reposted that post, and he also had like a picture of Ron DeSantis that some dark money like left-wing pack had of Ron DeSantis while he was a professor at college or something, and there were some girls in the picture, and so and Trump had mentioned it before, and it's just like, is Ron DeSantis a groomer? So to folks who really, really want Ron and people to come to bat for Trump, people should do what's right, and calling out the woke TAs and the corruption there, that's good. But if people really, really want folks to go to bat for him, Trump is going to have to. I guess I'm saying, is it more than he deserves what people are expecting? Well, one, I don't really know what people are expecting that's realistic. And two, he's been having some unreasonable sort of attacks at this guy who hasn't really mentioned him, who's not technically in the race yet. And I think people trying to predict Trump's behavior, if he'll stop or he'll try to torpedo the entire Republican ticket if he does not win. I think that's what's playing to people, DeSantis' mind, and whether or not he's going to jump in the race. Because I think it's possible for him to win in a primary, but the question is what happens after the primary. And would he be blowing his shot at being the president by, overstepping, leapfrogging over the former president in a primary? So there's lots of things to consider there with those two, but Trump has issues with accusations, and there's a lot of things that people have said about Trump that have just been blatantly wrong. There have been things that have been debunked. But to go in like say those comments or imply certain things about DeSantis and then even throw out or possibly a man as if it's like, well, he could be gay, who knows? You know, it's just not cool. It's just not cool. And then there's the real issue of, I mean, Trump being for adultery as well. The Hollywood Access tape, people are really caught up on the grab them by the such and such comment, which in real life, I worked at the recount in Michigan. And so I had a conversation with people who were there for Jill Stein. Jill Stein people were like actually Hillary people and Hillary people. And I was the only like female who was like working representing like the party. So I was representing the Trump team, at least when in the particular county that we were working in counting the ballots. But the other guys who were there, they were gay and they were men. And but they absolutely all believed that the Access Hollywood tape was just like locker room talk. They all believe that. They all admitted that they talk like that with each other, with their friends. I'm the only one who was like, I don't talk like that in my normal vernacular. They were the opposition. They were the other side. So they believed that it was locker room talk. But if you do listen to Hollywood Access tape, the thing that really bothered me was that he had a conversation about how he was going after like a married woman. And I'm like, no, that went over everyone's head. I'm like, are y'all some cheaters? Like, did that register with folks? So everything done in darkness usually comes back to light. That's scripture. So I think that Trump was the right president for that time, but I don't enjoy a lot of the skeletons or whatever in his closet. That's not a thing that I love. So the least he could do is not come and for DeSantis in this kind of way. I think it's unbecoming. I think he should really focus on the things that people like about him, the reasons why people were willing to crawl through, I don't know, glass football fields or whatever things that people said in their passionate rants about why they would vote for Trump and how nothing could stop them. And that's because they felt like he was really fighting for them, and he accomplished things, and he got things done that people wanted as far as policy, etc. And that he's had a lot of good accomplishments. COVID was a terrible thing that happened, of course, and we can't like forget that. But well, the Democrats try to pretend like that's not a factor, and the economy just kind of crashed and it's Trump's fault, and brought it back. And we got so many jobs now. Like I didn't forget that you guys shut down the economy and that Biden wanted to continue shutting it down, etc. But not gonna forget that the context. But like first 3 years or so, there was some great stuff. As a matter of fact, the economy was so good. People were like, oh, we're getting into a recession. We're going to get into a recession. And then the recession didn't come. And Democrats were definitely worried about it because people are happy. They're going to keep the gravy train going. So that was like the thinking. So they were concerned about it. Bill Maher, who is now saying like, oh, these people are crazy on the left. He said that he helped the economy fail so Trump would be reelected. He said that. And I don't think he was alone, but he was one person who said that. So COVID happened and they had reason to shut down the economy, and a whole host of other things happened. And I think the 15 days of slow spread, which we just came up on an anniversary of it, was like the beginning of the end of his presidency. But if he focused on, I think he should run a campaign of saying, I was right the whole time. I was right about lab leaks. I was right about, I'm not gonna say too much COVID stuff. I don't know what will flag, but I was right about what Biden would do. I was right about the lefties. I was right about China. I was right about, Russia and, foreign policy, and just go down a list, he should make a list and go from there and fight for that list. Because he does have a leg up on everybody else as far as foreign policy. Because I mean, a lot of people were like, we're after the Bush years, and people got an Obama thinking that he wasn't gonna do war, and then he like said, "Nah, we're gonna do some Democrat war." Like we're gonna keep going with the war, And so they wanted someone who wasn't going to be engaging all that stuff. So Trump, didn't start any new stuff like that. So um you don't have the same kind of assurances with other folks that you know how Trump does foreign policy, and if you like the way he did foreign policy, then you can be assured, at least in that regard. Like other things, like domestically, a lot of Republicans are going to do a lot of similar things, but you at least know where he stands on that end. You don't know how everyone else will be. You can hypothesize how DeSantis might be on foreign policy, but he hasn't had that chance to prove what he will do on the world stage. So Trump has a lot of things that he could talk about and really go for, but not this petty like back and forth with DeSantis. I really don't like it. I really, really, really don't like it. It turns me off. But I don't expect him to change, just to be frank. I just don't. Next up, I want to talk about The Little Mermaid, and because Halle Bailey did an interview, and she had mentioned that The Little Mermaid was going to be different than how it was in the past, and they were going to it and she said that they're going to be not just focused on how she wants to get a man, but it's going to be focused on how she wants to see the world and a bunch of different other stuff. So, and they're going to put like a modern spin or whatever, and modern women are strong and independent and et cetera, blah blah blah. So people are noting and I think ratioing the original article where I saw it posted. And they're noting in the original film, well, here's a quote: "As a woman, we are amazing, we are independent, we are modern, we are everything and above." I'm glad that Disney is updating some of those themes. But before that, she said, "We've definitely changed that perspective of just her wanting to leave the ocean for a boy. It's way bigger than that. It's about herself, her purpose, her freedom, her life, and what she wants." So if you watched Little Mermaid some time ago, and or just ever, there's a lot of people who are really into Disney stuff as adults, but or if they watch it with their kids, Ariel had a whole cavern, or maybe you just play Kingdom Hearts. She had a whole like cave or cavern or whatever with a bunch of human stuff. She had curiosity about the world beyond the sea. She wanted to know about humans and what they did. And in her song Part of Your World, which is a great, one of the best, Disney ballads I think that there is, she sings a song just about wondering what the surface world is like. And she talks about how she wants to see people dance. She wants to know about fire. She wants to ask questions and get answers from intelligent, educated people. So The Little Mermaid, like Eric, is a catalyst that pushes her forward into actually taking those steps with Ursula and making the deal to go to the surface world to get her legs and to be up there. But she had all these other alternative hopes and dreams, that drew her to the surface and even seeing him in the first place. So Halle Bailey saying that, there's no more nuance, and we're making this more about beyond just wanting a man. It was always about that. And so I don't know how extreme or off the course they're going to be taking the script. Like, is it going to be one of those? I think that the Netflix Cinderella story, I didn't watch it because everyone said it was a hot mess. It didn't look interesting to me. But I think the story was way more about her wanting to pursue her dream as like making clothes or being a business owner or something, rather than, a fairy tale ending of having a man. I don't even know if she ended up with a prince or not. I didn't watch it, but there's like these pushes of not having that romance being like a central sort of part and forsaking that for like other expectations and goals, like etc. But Ariel making the deal, leaving her family and all that stuff for to go up there. That's if you watch it as an adult, there's some red flags all around the film, and you're like giving up your voice for all this stuff. But it wasn't just for Eric. She wanted to go on the surface world. Now, if you could really talk about a bad guy in a situation, I hate the fact that when she lost her deal, right, with Ursula, and Ursula was about to be like, okay, you about to be my slave, I'm gonna steal your soul, etc. The dad shows up and he's like, you can't do that, that's my baby. And he's all mad, and she's like, you can't break my contract. And I'm like, why can't he break the contract? That sounds stupid. But like, okay, you can't just do it by brute force. Okay, so he's just like, take me instead. And I'm like, sir, you're the king. Maybe I sound awful right now, but I'm like, that's one of your children. Like, you have a whole kingdom. She clearly wants to try it so she can be a tyrannical monster and take over all the seas. Like, she could commit some genocide right now. You see, she has a whole like area where she has like just souls, like of people who are your people who've made all these deals. Why did you stop her sooner, sir? Why did you stop her sooner? It's a question. There's all these merfolks that have been disappearing, making all these deals with Ursula, and now your baby girl gets in danger, and you're willing to just give up your livelihood and everything in your kingdom, including your other children and their potential futures for Ariel, who is probably grown enough in your society who made her own decision. So, yeah, there's some bad decisions all around that movie. And it's funny that he couldn't murder her out of I mean, he couldn't destroy the contractor. Couldn't he have just murdered Ursula? Because isn't that what Eric did? He just like rammed a ship through her, and then she was dead, and it's like, oh, everything's fixed. So there's some holes here. I good movie though, enjoyable. you know um so the need to inject all this, like, I don't know how much they're going to change the story. Obviously they're changing a bit, but and the Disney live action stuff always changes the stories. So people who were so invested in being upset about it, I'm like, they've done this a couple times. We know they changed stuff. So expecting this, I think if you're going to do an adaptation of something that's like you made Disney itself, I would like to see it basically transferred in a different medium. That's what I would like out of like the adaptations. But Disney obviously wasn't doing that, so I'm like, there's no point in really getting invested in it like that. However, what I don't understand is, like, you got Halle Bailey as Ariel, and that caused a huge outrage. And she talked about the outrage and how people reacted to it a bit. And she said she was taken aback by the trolls, and I don't know why people should expect that there would be a big reaction. And then she was still happy for like the babies who saw her on screen, where they show videos of people excited because there's a Ariel who is brown skin. But why not have the right kind of hair, or at least the right shade? That's pretty iconic, and I don't get. And the easy answer is probably it didn't look good with her skin tone or complexion or natural in the least bit. And then she wasn't well cast, was she? She wasn't well cast. But they wanted to go the route that they wanted to go. They wanted to go that route, so it is what it is. It's already made. But looking at the trailer, I think it looks drab. I think the color palette looks very flat. It doesn't look good to me. It doesn't look good to me. So I'm glad that I'm not excited about it and wanted to see it in the first place. So I'm really not missing out on anything. I'm really not missing out myself. My sister said, "Hello." She said, "LOL." Christina going to a Matt Walsh rant about Disney. Yeah. I assume because with the plot of The Little Mermaid. Yeah, I don't think it looks good from the trailer, and some people think it looks awesome. I'm sure she'll sound fine. I don't think it looks good at all. I don't think it looks good. I don't think it's well cast. The story is probably gonna not be good, and but you know, I don't plan to force myself to sit through it. So I'm just enjoying the commentary. Um, but she's not the only like actress to have done this, to say, hey, we're putting on this modern spin or something, and it's gonna be like more feminist than it was before or something. And you can definitely make the Little Mermaid more feminist, but um when Charmed came out, the reboot, the actresses were like, "Oh, this is really going to be a show that promotes feminism and stuff." Like they were upgrading it from the original. And one of the actresses, I don't know, I can't think of her name, but the one who played Piper, Piper was the one who froze things. She like took a bit of offense to that. She's like, "What are you talking about? Our show was always like pro woman and like." I think like it's a show about three strong female leads and stuff. And they broke borders and boundaries and pushed conversations and stuff forward. I watched Charm for a little bit. I didn't go through with it with the long haul, but it was a very popular show back in the day when it was before it was a CW and it was the WB. So everyone wanting to interject their we did this kind of like the Jennifer Lawrence perspective of, oh, I'm the first female action star or something. And it's like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Because you did the Hunger Games? That's not even true. Which I already did a video about that, so I'm not gonna rant about it, but they just gotta inject their woke. Just shut up and play the part and let people be happy. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you guys enjoy the show. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, different articles, different videos, etc. My sister said she never heard me go that deep into the point about Little Mermaid and Poseidon, the dad. Well, I guess I've never heard anyone to really complain about it like that before. I have complained about it, but I suppose I was quite passionate. Go to the website, check out different content on my website, different articles, videos, etc. Please check out different merch that we have at the store, different shirts like the well, here's a mug, like the You Are Not That Special mug. We got some XX Club stuff, lifetime membership, some pro female stuff there. We got black tea mugs and let me show you. I'm Not the Victim You're Looking For. I really like that shirt. And we got the goat hoodies that you guys can get, and goat t-shirts. I guess it's getting warmer out there. It's already like spring, right? We already had our spring forward. That doesn't mean in Michigan that snow is over, so I guess I don't really consider it spring, because I guarantee you we'll still have snow. So thank you guys. And if you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate. Thank you for your support, and I will see you tomorrow.